That's Matt Ryan on PFTPM a couple of weeks ago.
Ooh,
and
baby.
look,
Man, where was that, in the grotto? Was that in the grotto? I mean, you just got so many locations on the property to do these interviews. It's unbelievable. How big is this house? And whoa, look at the archways. The stone, is that cheap rock from Florida, or are those real stones?
That's the cheap rock from Florida. That's actually New Age Z-brick. I worked very hard to glue those to the wall. Took a lot of work to actually glue those fake rocks to the wall. Good internet, though. We got a little access point down there, so it doesn't get choppy like when I do it in my office. Need to get an access point in there as well, but that's a different story altogether. The story is the Atlanta Falcons, number 19 on our preseason power rankings, a team that finished the season 6-2, and we always put a star next to those teams that finish strong. This year, going into the season, Falcons, Jets, both riding that 6-2 wave from the prior year, Chris. And the Falcons are a team that I think we're not paying attention to like we should. And I think the Falcons probably like it that way because it's all about the Saints and the Buccaneers, the Saints and the Buccaneers, the Saints and the Buccaneers. Let's not forget about the Falcons. They still have Matt Ryan. They still have Julio Jones. They've got a core of veteran talent. And they showed us down the stretch last year they can put it together and win. They went to San Francisco, a game the 49ers needed, and upset them.
Right.
This is a team that if they can get a few breaks, and if they can stay healthy, and if they can get something out of Todd Gurley in the running game, this is a team that could be pretty darn good.
Agreed. I mean, health is the big issue for the Falcons the last 2 years. I mean, that's been their number one issue. But, when I think of the Falcons right now, I mean, I'm with you. I think of them as one of those teams that could be a sleeping giant when all said and done here when this 2020 season ends. I look at, a team like the Falcons we've hit on, today, the Rams, the Chargers, the Browns, the Broncos, those 5 teams is all teams where, we've seen this run where it's 3 or 4 new teams in the playoffs every year for a bunch of years in a row now. Those are the teams I got my eye on, and especially the Atlanta Falcons. There's just too much talent across the roster for you not to believe in them. I mean, you said it. Okay, yeah, Todd Gurley, we need that running back position to have a little production there. That's been hurting for Atlanta the last few years. Offensive line, got some young pieces there along with Alex Mack, who's still one of the best centers in football. Trade and get Hayden Hurst at tight end. We've talked about the 2 receivers they got, and Jones and Ridley. Damn, that's about as good a duo as you're going to get in football. I mean, when you look at that graphic on TV there and you go Gurley, Jones, Ridley, Hayden Hurst, I go, damn, that'll compete with anybody in football as far as your 2 receivers, tight end, and running back go. And, you've said it. They're sleeping on, they're under the radar. They're really well coached. And they've done the proper things even on the defensive side of the ball to help their team out. Signing a Dante Fowler, drafting the kid from Clemson, A.J. Terrell, in the first round, to where I'm with you, Mike. Don't sleep on the Falcons. They're one of those teams I look at and go, I won't be shocked if they win the NFC South this year. I certainly could see that happening.
Yeah, I absolutely could see it happening. As the Saints and the Buccaneers are so concerned about each other, the Falcons just kind of sneak up on the outside if they can't stay healthy and if Todd Gurley can be anything like he was a couple of years ago before that knee just got to the point where it no longer would cooperate. And everything has been great so far. Of course, we're in the time of the year where everyone's in the best shape of their lives. But Todd Gurley has had a lot to overcome with that knee. It goes back to the torn ACL he suffered 2014-ish at Georgia. And look, it didn't stop him from being the premier offensive player in the NFL in 2017, but something has happened the past 2 seasons. Falcons hoping they can turn that around. Mentioned Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. This is an exciting offense potentially. And, you've got the head coach who's been there for a while now, Dan Quinn. You've got Dirk Cutter, the offense coordinator, who was the former Bucs head coach. You've got Raheem Morris, Morris,
you're right,
the defensive coordinator, who used to be the Buccaneers head coach. You got 2 former Buccaneers coaches
Hilarious.
As your coordinators. Look, there's a lot of experience there. There's a lot of wisdom there. And, Matt Ryan in year number 13, we talk all the time about guys like Brady and Breeze who have seen it all. Matt Ryan's seen a lot too.
Definitely.
And he's getting to the point where you can't fool him. I just think that we need to be paying more attention to the Falcons than we are. Because they're a team that we get to October, November, we could be saying, oh my gosh, why weren't we paying more attention to the Falcons?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, we talked about the injuries last year killed their football team. The Todd Gurley factor is real. I feel like Dan Quinn's got his little formula for coaching the team down. You know, you could say what you want about the Falcons. You know, I don't always sit there and go, oh, my gosh, it's the most creative schemes. I've never seen anything like this in my life. No, I don't sit there and do that. But they got everything. And the one thing I'll say about Dan Quinn and that team, they compete. They're tough. Even when they're down to like fifth stringers playing. I mean, they throw their bodies around. So he has a team that believes in him and his coaching style. And when you have that with talent, you know, Grady Jarrett, Dante Fowler Jr. on the edge, Deion Jones, Keanu Neal, who is a guy that if he can stay healthy will be in the Derwin James, Jamal Adams conversation. The damn guy just can't stay healthy, and I hope that happens. But, you know, you hit on Raheem Morris. I was in Tampa with Raheem Morris all those years. This Seattle scheme that the Falcons play, because Dan Quinn's from the Seattle Seahawks, it all originated down there in Tampa Bay. Pete Carroll, he used to come down there and visit Raheem Morris and Monty Kiffin and all those guys. And Raheem Morris understands this defense, let alone has a great way of leading men. You know, one of his good friends and his biggest mentor in his life was Mike Tomlin. And they have a similar style where they can communicate and get guys to run through a wall and not even think twice about it. And that's where I'm excited about the Falcons. Between that, the talent, you talk about Matt Ryan. I think he's played phenomenal football the last few years. They're dangerous.
And it's good to see Raheem Morris getting this opportunity. I think he got thrust into a coaching job, head coaching job, sooner than he should have.
Yeah.
And it was that strange palace coup where John Gruden and Bruce Allen get thrown out, and then Raheem Morris and Mark Dominic get installed just like that. There was just always a weird vibe there, and it didn't work out in Tampa. And look, Tampa, not nearly among the most patient of teams when it comes to keeping coaches. It'd be good to see Raheem get another opportunity. And you know what? Let's be realistic. One opportunity could come as interim head coach if this team doesn't do what it needs to do. There was a strong sense last year, 1-7 into the bye week, that Dan Quinn was done. He managed to stick around. Chris, I feel like going into the year, he's going to have that flag as one of the guys who needs to do something positive this season, or he's not going to be back for 2021.
I would agree. You know, I think the big problem is some of the headline talent they got on the team. There's going to be expectations there. So, yes, I would. Now, what is that number, you know, as far as wins and losses that might cost him his job? But you're right. There's a little bit of a target on him per se. He's one of those guys where you go, ooh, if they end up 6-10, you know, it's done. You know, if they go 8-8, does he salvage his job? I don't know. That'll be, you know, that's a tough one, certainly. But, you know, I look at this team and go, they have a high ceiling, and I don't see that low of a floor. You know, Mike, where are you at ceiling-wise? I could say ceiling-wise, best case scenario, they win the NFC South. They're 12-4, and they're one of the top 2 seeds in the NFC, which it doesn't matter to be the top 2 seeds anymore. You just want to be the top one. But either way, a 1 or a 2 seed, I think, is the ceiling. You up there in that thought?
Look, did we expect them to be the 1 seed the year in 2016 when they made it to the Super Bowl? We
No.
kind of felt
and
like
they were the 2 seed that year.
Close on that
Yeah.
team. Yeah, they had the opportunities. Remember, they were the 1 seed in 2010 when Aaron Rodgers and company went in there and just plastered them on a Saturday night in the divisional round. And they had that thing with blown leads. And they get to the Super Bowl and then with blown lead in the Super Bowl, but we didn't expect them to be in the Super Bowl that year. So, you know, this is one of the challenges of any NFL season. We are so influenced by what happened last year that kind of the fumes of last year spill into this year.
Definitely.
And we can't set aside, you know, that even though we know that the turnover is going to be about 50%, even though we are well aware of that as the postseason field churns every year, we just can't bring ourselves to say, yeah, you know what, this team isn't just going to be a playoff team. This is a team that's got the potential to be one of the top teams. And do the Falcons have a chance to be one of the top teams? I mean, did we expect the 49ers to be the 1 seed last year at this time?
Right.
So, yeah, if it falls their way, and that's the one thing that no one can predict. Injuries, breaks, bad calls, good calls. There are so many little things that define your season. You know, that key 3rd and 7, stopping that team on 4th and 2 from the 3-yard line. Just one move here, one move there changes everything for a team. And the Falcons are good enough to be in the position where they can benefit from those breaks that no one can control. and get to the top seed if it all falls their way.
Yeah, they are. They're the thing is, though, that like you said, they're a little top heavy. And they have not been able to withstand the injury storm the last 2 years. And the last 2 years also, one of their mottos has to be start fast. Ever since that Super Bowl year, 2017, okay, they got to the playoffs, 10-6, almost beat the Eagles in that divisional round game, had the ball, But 2018, 2019, got to such slow starts, they were playing behind the 8 ball from the get-go. So that's got to be a part of their conversation this year, and especially with their schedule earlier this year. I mean, Seattle, Dallas, the Green Bay Packers, 3 out of your first 4 games. The Bears is going to be no cupcake either. That's real. So they better hit the ground running. And, Mike, you're right with, like, that really does jump out to me. You talk about, like, the 50% turnover. That's where it stinks with no preseason football. Not that you can always gauge a ton from preseason football, but those last few years I've worked with you, we put our, finger on 2 or 3 teams ago. They look different this preseason. They look determined. They're playing very physical for a preseason game. And it usually correlates to, oh, damn, they're playing pretty good in the regular season. We're not going to have that this year, and I think that's going to make it to be a, more of a guessing game than ever for guys like you and me.
And a very interesting September as we start to hash out who really does look like they're putting it together. And who knows, maybe no preseason is going to be very bad for the Seahawks and very good for the Falcons. And we're going to find out when those 2 teams meet week 1. All right, let's take a break. So much talk about what's going to happen with college football season. We did a draft on Friday, the things that we miss about a normal NFL preseason. We're going to do a draft today of the things we would miss if college football season doesn't happen. That's next here on Pro Football Talk.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.